morning, and welcome to another episode of Legislative Matters Now. I'm Morgan Spicer, Self-Advocate Coordinator with People First of West Virginia. The purpose of our program is to educate all self-advocates, including myself, on the ever-important topic of legislative advocacy. Now, we do this by having a guest each month talk about various pieces of legislation. We also, on many programs, depending on the topic and time allowed, do a segment called Advocate in Action, where we talk to a self-advocate who is using their self-advocacy skills in a positive light to not only influence their lives, but the lives of others around them. Now, this month, we're going to be doing something a little different. This month, we are going to feature our guest speaker, who will be joining us shortly. And then next month, we will have an Advocate in Action that you will not want to miss. Today's guest is John Burdette. John is the West Virginia Relay Outreach Specialist for West Virginia Relay. He will be talking to us about the importance of a bill that supports closed captioning. Misty Boone will also be joining us as an interpreter. Let's get to that interview now. All right. Today we have John Burdette. John Burdette is the Outreach Specialist for the West Virginia Relay Program. Thank you so much for joining us today, and welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me here.
So, can you explain the legislation in West Virginia concerning closed captioning?
Sure. So I am John Burdette. I've been working with West Virginia Association for the Deaf. I've been an advocate for the organization since about 1995. I've been working with the deaf and the blind and hard of hearing and people with hearing loss. And I've served in legislation. And since the last few years, I've been helping get bills passed for hard of hearing and deaf. And the main thing is like the closed caption. We have two different bills. On the House side, the Senate side, the closed caption and open live captions. The closed captions also are following up, like for relay, so that it can go back and forth, on and off, so whatever they prefer. So the open captions, it's established there on the movie screen so that they don't have to use a device. It's just right there, where they can see everything. Its concept is really easy for the concept, and it's there to support the closed caption. Closed caption in public places, like in restaurants and hospital, anywhere in the store, bowling leagues, bowling alleys, anywhere. They should have where they can turn the closed captions on and off so that it could be fully accessible to all people to watch when they have TV and open screens. So open live captions on the screen. So right now they have the devices that they use on the movie theaters. But my experience, I do not like these. Open captions on the movie screen, it's much easier. That way you can see the action. You can see all of it together and watch the movie and the actors together at one time.
And from someone that goes to the theater a lot, like I do, I noticed that when I go to reserve my tickets for a movie, they have special theaters for those individuals. So I think that's amazing that they do that. But you don't like the captioning for the theaters?
Right. The captions and my experience is if you try to use it, it's called captive. It's like on a little device. It's like a little square thing that goes into the cup holders, and you kind of have to move it around.
Okay.
So your eyes and your neck can kind of like even get cramped while you're trying to watch the videos or
Yeah, that
movies.
yeah,
So
that would be
it's just not good access.
yeah.
And it could die, like the charging on it for the movie,
Hmm.
all that. So it's just like leaves you. It's just I just don't have a good experience with the caption machines that they have right now. In my experience.
So what are the requirements for closed captioning in West Virginia?
We have asked for open captions. There's like for two shows to have two shows for all of them to do it, for like certain times to come in and enjoy it. So there's really no requirements for captions for movies right now, other than they offer those devices. You can have it like on the TVs or something. Through the FCC and communication for legislation, the law says that the requirements are that closed captions, just have to be, I guess, available. But there's no real requirements for open captions, like being on the actual movie theater, like for equipment. Does that make sense?
Yes. So how does West Virginia ensure that all broadcasters and video programming distributors comply with closed captioning requirements?
Many TV, like programming in different area, will, require that closed caption be available. If they fail to have closed captions, we, the deaf of hard of hearing community, can file a complaint, an application complaint, and file it on the actual broadcaster that they did not allow us to have closed caption for the compliance.
So what are the requirements for telecommunication companies to provide the relay services in West Virginia?
Can you ask that question again?
Sure. What are the requirements for telecommunication companies to provide relay service in West Virginia?
Oh, okay. The state has to require that they comply with relay services through the state WVA public service company. ADA backs that up. And America with Disabilities also requires those services. And, the state, they find interpreters or broadcasters for different telecommunication services access so that deaf and hard of hearing and, people with hearing loss can communicate among themselves. But the more information through West Virginia Public Service, so they'll control the state requirements for the programs.
Trying to think of which question I was on. Sorry. Okay, I don't know if I asked this question already, but I'm going to make sure if I did or not. So, how does West Virginia ensure that telecommunication companies comply with the relay service requirements?
It's better that they contact the. I'm having a hard time understanding the spelling because it's freezing a little bit. So it's better to contact the DAVIDHOWELL
David Howell
of West Virginia Public Service Commissioner. Let him know of the requirements of the telecommunication.
So, are there any penalties for non-compliance with the closed captioning in West Virginia? Like for the legislation?
Oh, I see. Not yet. The House bill that we have right now that we don't think is going to move, it would provide penalties, like if they didn't provide that. But like, suppose the bill would pass, then it would, it would help against even discriminating against deaf and hard of hearing, but we have no penalties. Right. No penalties.
Okay.
So we're just going to keep trying every year until we try to get that.
Yeah. And this is good that we're doing this because the purpose of this show is to get the self-advocates that, we serve to become better aware of legislation that they can advocate for. And we've had some examples of where, the advocates have spoken to their legislators about bills that need to be passed. So I think it's great that we're doing this because it can educate them and they can assist in the advocacy of getting this bill raised some more awareness for so we can get it passed.
Right. Yeah, if it would pass the closed caption bill, it'll give equal access for everyone. Everyone, meaning deaf, hard of hearing, deaf blind, low vision, people with hearing aids like veterans, older people that wear hearing aids, autism, people with hearing difficulties, like that apply to all. We need equal access for all people, closed captionings and all. We need open caption, period.
So how does West Virginia handle complaints regarding non-compliance with the closed captioning and relay services legislation? I believe we answered this question already, but I want to make sure.
So if a person would complain and file a complaint on the closed caption through the FCC, the Federal Communication, then which the TV program or like the broadcasting that they could apply on. And they would just have to follow up on that through the agencies, the FCCs.
So if someone did have a complaint, then it would probably be they would want to contact the FCC and file a complaint there.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
Yes.
So since today is Deaf Awareness Day at the Capitol, as this program is airing, what should people be aware of about deaf people and the deaf community that they might not know but should?
Okay. So Deaf Awareness Day is what? It's really to show people, everyone really, like programs, services, everything that's offered to the deaf and hard of hearing community, organizations, agencies, associations, all of that of different programs and services that are accessible to the deaf and hard of hearing. All the services and programs that they can get in contact with and access.
Now, I always ask this question when we talk to legislators about bills passing. If any of our advocates would like to, communicate or send a letter, what would be the best way for them to communicate? Is it faster to send an email? Is it better to call or write a letter?
Really often, people with legislation, they prefer emails. Sometimes calling them helps get it through. Like VRS, they could use VRS, video and relay for deaf people to be able to call to have access to the legislators. I prefer email so that, they know the date, the time, everything is right there for them to respond, or, call sometimes might be hard. Then maybe they wouldn't call back, or, maybe a text. But most of the time, I think email is more common.
Okay. So while we know that captioning is important, would it be correct to say that captioning is not a substitute for ASL, American Sign Language? Just like today, rather than you simply typing what you're saying, we have an interpreter, and we certainly appreciate Miss Dave for taking the time to interpret today.
Really, it kind of does depend on the situation. And if the person can text and, they understand hearing communication, I prefer an interpreter. But I like both either way, really. But some people do prefer interpreters, but either one for me.
So while we were setting up this interview, we we were educated on some of the programs that Zoom utilizes for closed captioning. Like Sorensen was one of them. We discovered Genie. Is there any good apps that individuals can use to not only learn sign language, but to possibly use that, per se, if they're having a Zoom meeting?
I don't really know of. I'm having a hard time understanding the finger spelling because it's freezing a little bit. Sorenson. Recently established a new a collaboration with Zoom. I don't really know a lot about it or apps that kind of work with it yet, but hopefully in the future, we will see more of technology improving on Zoom and other applications. With, open captions and different things like that coming on it, people are going to prefer it. Some people do prefer interpreters. And there are new apps that are coming out every day to inform people. But so really, I don't know if there's any other special programs.
All right. So would you like to see more interpreters, and maybe a requirement someday for more interpreters?
Yes. The state of West Virginia needs more interpreters for the community. They need more in schools for their access. Yes, we definitely today we have a shortage of interpreters. In the future, we hope that it grows and improves.
Is there anything else, John, that you would like to add?
No, not really. I think that's all. I think we covered everything. But I appreciate the opportunity.
Definitely. And we appreciate you taking the time to be here and help educate our advocates on the importance of this bill and to spread more awareness. That way we can get the ball moving a little bit. All right. Well, thank you so much, John, for joining us today. I appreciate you taking the time to see us and speak with us, and hope you have a great day.
Thank you too. Thank you very much.
And thank you, Misty, for taking the time to help us interpret today. I know it was short notice, but we really appreciate you being on here to help us.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much, John, for joining us today. And thank you, Misty, for taking the time out of your schedule to help us with this program and interpret. Do not forget, if you have an important piece of legislation you want discussed on a future episode or want to be an advocate in action, please do not hesitate to reach out to me. You can call the ARC at 304-422-3151, extension 129, or you can email me directly. My email is morgan.spicer@thearcmov.org. With that, we're out of time for this month's episode. Thanks so much, John Burdette from West Virginia Relay. And again, thanks, Misty Boone, for taking the time to join us and interpret. Remember, advocacy matters, and so do you. See you next time.